So I've been working all weekend on my guest bathroom, the one that the boys use, because the floor basically rotted out from underneath it from years and years and years of just water damage and blah, blah, blah. I'll insert some pictures here. Oh, I almost fell through the freaking floor. And don't judge me too harshly, but it is what it is. It's fixed, and I am tired. I've been working on it. I worked on it for hours yesterday, and then hours this morning as well. And so, dang it, it's the evening time, and I want steak. I want to reward myself with some steak. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to run up here to H-E-B real quick, and I'm going to grab some tri-tips. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I just like tri-tip. Now, usually at H-E-B, there's two kinds of tri-tip, and I'm going to show you the two different kinds when we get there. But the first kind is kind of more of a lean cut. It's a little bit smaller, and that's usually what I pick whenever I'm going to grill the steak. But there's another kind, I think they label it prime or something like that. You'll see it's a lot bigger, it's a lot more fatty, and that's what I would pick if I wanted to smoke tri-tip like a brisket. In a lot of the tri-tip videos that talk about cooking it like a brisket, they don't really talk about which tri-tip to select. And if you have the choice to pick between the different choices or kinds of tri-tip, if you're going to smoke it like a brisket, I would definitely get the fattier one. I've smoked the leaner one like a brisket before, and it's okay, but it just doesn't break down like you would hope it would, kind of like a brisket. But it's okay for making lunches, you know, chopping it up and making like a chopped beef sandwich or something. It's okay, but I wouldn't recommend it. So when we get up here to H-E-B, again, I'll show you the two different kinds, and we're going to grab two of the tri-tips because my in-laws are going to come over, and that's what we're going to have for dinner. So see you in just a second. All right, we're here. Let's go. By the way, this is my papa's old truck, 1999 F-150. Over here, he had it monogrammed. It stands for Butch Freeman from Mart, Texas. Pretty funny. Hey, sheepy. Would you believe me if I told you this H-E-B was out of tri-tips? So it turns out my uncle actually sold my grandpa this pickup back in the day. Oh, let's go hit up H-E-B. Number 2. Let's try this again. I hate this H-E-B because it's so much bigger. Too many people. So real quick, here's the difference. This is prime, whatever, but it's $51, which is insane. But if you're gonna smoke this like a brisket, this would be a much better choice than something like this, which is, you know, a little leaner, still has some decent marbling, but obviously much cheaper. So I'm gonna grab a couple of these for grilling, and then, like I said, these would be much better if you're gonna smoke these like a brisket. You can grab some of this stuff too as a marinade. I'll tenderize my steak and then I'll soak it in that zesty Italian, and usually the steaks come out pretty stinking juicy. All right, so now we got our tri-tips. We also picked up some chicken wings I'm gonna throw on the grill for the kids. I don't want them eating up all my steak. So anyway, see you back at the house here in a second. I actually forgot that before I can even cook steaks, I gotta feed our cows. So now I'm in the tractor, about to feed these knuckleheads. Now before anybody says anything, our cows are grass-fed, so we don't have any tri-tips. Anything extra like that that's real lean usually gets ground up and put into hamburger meat. Grass-fed cows, at least from our ranch, are very lean. That's also why the briskets that we get are very small and not very fatty and marbled. So we usually get a lot of hamburger meat and steaks when we take our cows into the butcher. Move out of the way. Oh my goodness. Oh, all right. Let's go cook some steaks now. Okay, so let's get started. Now this smaller one, I mean, it's not really shaped like a real tri-tip, but we do see some of this fat here and some of the silver skin, so we're going to try and trim some of this off. Same thing over here. The top side looks pretty good, but right back here we've got some fat to trim off and some silver skin. That looks good. Let's move on to this bigger one. I think I'm going to chop this little flappy piece off right here. Trim, trim, trim. That's looking pretty good. And so is this one. So now we're going to go ahead and tenderize these with my needler. Let's see if my camera falls off. Flip it over. Is this a thick piece? Don't make fun of me for my tenderizer. I don't know where my real one's at, so I got to use my wife's. Okay, now that we're tenderized, it flattened it out a little bit. You could tenderize this as much as you want to, or not at all, whatever works for you. I've always just tenderized just a little bit. So tenderize and then marinade. So we're going to drop these down in the Ziploc. So we've got our spicy Italian from H-E-B going in. I'm doing the whole thing because I don't need to save any of it because I don't believe in salad. Wipe my hands off, close the bag, and then give it a good shake, mix, whatever works for you. Just make sure everything's nice and coated. Always go with the tenderizer first and then the marinade, so that way the marinade can penetrate down in there. Now ideally you'll stick this in the refrigerator for an hour to 2. I don't have that much time tonight because my in-laws are already here, so we're just going to marinate this for about 30 minutes. So take this over here to the garage fridge. And, oh, hey, look, there's a little race car in there. We're going to plop it right there for the next 30 minutes. Okay, so while the steaks are marinating, we're going to go ahead and throw our Smoky Woods charcoal inside of our PRM Jitsuden Yakitori style charcoal grill. We'll go ahead and load it up and just get ready. And while we're doing that, we'll hang out and relax and watch a nice YouTube video. That's a joke, by the way. I know how to cook a steak. Shouts out to Mom and Dad for keeping the sweet Lion King puzzle that we made when we were children. So again, I can't say enough good things about PRM barbecue and this Jitsuden Yakitori style cooker. One thing that I have learned from cooking on it a few times is you don't really want to skimp with the charcoal. You want to make sure you don't have to load it up too full, but you want to make sure there's a nice amount of charcoal in there. Because if you don't have enough charcoal in there when you light it, there can be some kind of cool spots throughout the grill, and you want a nice consistent temperature all the way across. So just make sure you put enough charcoal in there whenever you fire this thing out. So it's been about 30 minutes, and we're going to get these steaks out, and we're going to pat them dry kind of as much as we can. If all that little stuff kind of stays on there, that's okay, because that is just extra flavor, baby. Now, since I'm doing this with one hand, unfortunately, I'm going to have to touch my seasoning bottle with my dirty hand. But it is what it is. We'll wash it off later. We are hitting this with some salt lick, garlic, and this stuff is delicious. Very garlicky, but also very salty, so you don't want to go too crazy hard with it. Pat it in just like you normally would. I am going to try and shake off any excess I can. Because like I said, it is pretty salty, but it's also pretty good. That's going to be good enough. And if you want to do the sides, you just pick it up and dab whatever's left on the board. So we're going to sit here and let these steaks kind of dry brine, sweating, whatever you want to say, while we get our charcoal grill lit. Forgot to hit the record button, but this is how you get it lit. You just take your propane torch, turn it on, light it, and you just kind of go back and forth, kind of slow. That way the charcoal can get nice and lit. This is always the fun part, is lighting the charcoal. Usually what I'll do after I light it is I'll take the included little pokers that PRM gives you and just kind of, poke around in there, try and flatten some stuff out. Spread around whatever you can. If you need to hit it again and light it again, you can. But we want everything to be nice and even, as consistent as possible. So while this is getting nice and white hot and lit, I'm going to go get the chicken wings real quick and get ready to throw them on first for the kids. Okay, so the kids' little chicken wing drumsticks are looking pretty good. They'll come off here in a little bit, and then it'll be our turn to cook the tri-tip. Okay, I scooted all these over. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to throw this tri-tip on. I'm going to stick it right there. Oh yeah, that looks really good. Okay, so these chicken wings are looking good. We're going to go ahead and take them off. And let's throw on this next tri-tip. Oh, love that sizzle. Okay, these have been on here for about 5 minutes now. They're starting to get a good little crust. They're starting to look pretty good. We're going to cook these to about medium, so I'm going to pull them around 140 or so and let it rest just for a few minutes before we cut into these. So the smaller one is ready to take off. So we're going to go ahead and take this off and let it rest for a little bit. That thing is looking good. Nice and juicy. We'll give this one another few minutes to come up to temperature. And then after we're done resting, we will slice in and see what we got. This has been resting for a couple minutes. Again, remember with tri-tip that the grain runs in 3 different directions. We're going to cut into this and see what we got. First slice, I'm just going to cut down the middle so we can see. Cut's good. There we go, baby. Nice and medium, maybe a touch medium rare. That is looking good. And we're looking pretty juicy, if you ask me. That is looking really good. Sorry guys, forgot to record whenever we did our little taste test, so I'm going to cut me another little bite real quick. But I tell you, it's pretty stinking good. So on the smaller side, what I do kind of like about tri-tips is on the smaller, thinner side, it will, I'll say overcook, but I mean this is definitely closer to medium well, right? So it kind of gives you a little bit of variety. If you have your bigger chunks that people like medium rare, you know, then you've got your larger chunks that'll cook medium rare. If you've got some people that are a touch more picky and want their steaks, you know, medium well to well done, and that thinner side will definitely cook up. But you just take that bad boy, get some of that juice from our marinade. That is so good. I wish you guys could taste this. I love tri-tip. It's one of my favorite cuts of steak. Just because you get a nice sized chunk of meat, and when you hit it with some of this salt lick, garlic, oh man, this stuff is so good. So we're going to let this sit here still. I might go ahead and cut it up and take some inside to the wife and the in-laws, and while we're waiting on this larger piece to finish cooking. Okay, so the big boy is also ready to come off, right about 143, 144, somewhere in there. So we're going to pull this off and let it rest. Alright, so the big boy has been resting. Let's cut into this and see how well we did. Oh, yes sir. Yes sir, again. Perfect medium rare. So again, we cooked this tri-tip to about 144 or so. Anywhere between 140 to 145. Make sure you take it off and give it a nice rest for 5 to 10 minutes before you eat it so it can carry over, cook, and finish. But I'm going to call this right here a success. Now I'm going to take me a piece of this right here. And we are going to give this a little taste test also. Oh yeah, that looks so good. All right, here we go. Some of that juice. Bottoms up, baby. Why is that so good? This nice crust we have on top from that salt lick garlic rub is so good. This is exactly what I needed after a long weekend of work. Okay guys, so that wraps up cooking this tri-tip. You saw the way I cooked it. You cut off that silver skin, that fat, and then you tenderize it with the needler and stick it in a Ziploc bag to marinate. Roughly an hour to 2 hours. Today I only had 30 minutes, so it is what it is. I hit it with that salt lick garlic rub, which is excellent. And so then we cooked it to about 140 to 145, somewhere in there internal for medium to medium rare. Guys, I'm going to go enjoy the steak inside with the rest of my family. If you like the video, tap the like button. If you dislike the video, then double tap the dislike button. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. See you guys in the next one. Thanks.